Generally, NASCAR is known to be a series that's almost exclusively racing in the United States, with a large and patriotic audience at that. While NASCAR has made forges into foreign markets to race before, most notably at Japan for exhibition races in the 90s, and also to Mexico in the NASCAR Xfinity Series from 2005 to 2008, it just never worked out. And it wasn't for lack of storylines either, as there were great races and there was also really great winners. It was either future Cup Series champions or champions of other major series, winning in Mexico, for instance. But while they failed, one country has risen above those to offer NASCAR a relatively stable fan base: the Great White North of Canada. For the last 2 decades or so, NASCAR has had a consistent and strong sub-base up north. With a population just under that of California, the Canadian audience has been a market that has really proven to be valuable for NASCAR in the future. Even in NASCAR's past, the people running the sport have seen the value in the market. Before the 2020 COVID pandemic, NASCAR was racing the Xfinity Series and Truck Series at least once a year at a Canadian track. So it should be no surprise that NASCAR at its peak wanted to get a firm foothold in Canada. In 2005, there was actually a major track proposition: the Canadian Motor Speedway. This track was one planned to be built near Fort Erie, Ontario, on an 821-acre plot of land, and the original design team was actually led by Jeff Gordon. This design was a 3/4 mile oval short track with progressive banking and also with an infield road course that was 2 miles in length. The road course layout actually was going to be running through the infield tunnels and outside the track altogether as well. The initial designs were for the facility to hold 65,000 spectators, as well as have 40 different suite boxes. This would make the track the largest speedway in Canada, as well as the second largest sporting event when it comes to capacity that's in Canada as well, only being behind Montreal's Olympic Stadium. And with it being only 4 miles from the Canadian-US border from Buffalo, New York, it meant that hypothetically, NASCAR and Gordon were bringing the product to the people. Especially for the times, the plan was an ambitious one that was ahead of its time. On top of all that, it was meant to up the relevance of motorsports through R&D initiatives, as well as make it environmentally stable and be net zero at carbon emissions through biodiversity initiatives. The building plan also left the track open to an expansion on the grandstands to at least 100,000 seats. After all initial designs were completed between 2005 and 2006, the site selection and investments were beginning in 2007. And by the 2009 year, the plan for the Ontario racetrack went public, and it seemed like Canada was well on its way to having a Cup-ready oval racetrack. The full proposition was for $150 million in 2009, which equates to about $200 million when you adjust it to April 2022 inflation. By December of 2009, the Fort Erie Council had voted to approve the official planned amendment. All plans were in place, and the road course design was even planned to meet under FIA specifications for each configuration that they were choosing to run it with. So by 2013, after almost 6 years of deliberating from the local government, the Speedway crew finally, unofficially broke ground on the facility. Of this, Canadian Motor Speedway CEO Ibrahim Abu Talib said that we are making history in Canada and North America for motorsports fans with this track. It has been a very, very long journey, but now we have a wonderful journey ahead of us. For the town of Fort Erie, this is a new era. CMS is the hub, but around it, you have hospitality, retail, research, and development that is a city itself. CMS will be an attraction that will bring tremendous value to the town of Fort Erie and the province of Ontario. Suffice to say that hopes were certainly high for this racetrack. With this, more phases of the plan could be built out as a $400 million total project over time. Of this, Jeff Gordon had this to say.
I'm excited for Canada. I'm excited for auto racing. This will definitely be Canadian pride at its best. A Canadian speedway built by Canadians, just 45 minutes away from Toronto, 15 minutes from Buffalo, and 15 minutes from Niagara Falls. I think Canadians are going to be very proud to have a 1.2 kilometer, 3/4 mile track that is going to put on some great racing once it's completed.
The early stages of construction rolled well as the year clicked from 2013 to 2014, the only major news looking to be a logo redesign. While the opening day goal for the track was summer of 2016, the project started to hit snags. Budget constraints mired the development, and it went back days, which turned into weeks, and ultimately turned into months, going into years. The opening day would be postponed to 2017 before being shuffled back to 2018 and ultimately 2019. In 2016, a failed land purchase delayed it even more, and this is because the land and building developers wouldn't be able to acquire building permits until 2017 unless the land was acquired. At the earliest, the track wouldn't open until Q1 of 2019, nearly 3 years later than anticipated. But at this point, the project was an open wound, bleeding more and more money than could be made in return. By the middle of 2017, the budget had ballooned up to an insane $700 million. With this, investors both in the stocks for the track, as well as building the track and running it in general, were pulling their stakes out of the deal. But even with it being pulled from the stock exchange for its nearly worthless stocks, the remaining investors claimed that everything was normal and good and it would be up and running in 2019. But by April of 2018, the development was halted again. They refused to build the speedway unless an exit ramp was constructed for it to be off the Queen Elizabeth Way. This was opposed heavily by the Ontario government and ultimately struck down in the 2018 elections. In over a decade of being in development hell, both the public and government support for the track had dissipated. With no permit in hand heading into 2020, the team had until September 13th of that year to officially acquire one before the project sunset clause was put into effect to end it. With the COVID-19 pandemic hitting that year, it only hampered any more processes they could have done. And by September 13th, nothing had changed whatsoever, and the day came and went. In March 2021, the land that had potentially housed a Canadian Motor Speedway began to be sold off, as it was now a valuable area to build on for other tourist attractions. While the project runner and potential track owner, Azhar Mohammed, did manage to secure another year's extension in an effort to secure viable funding for the track, the tries were fruitless ones. With a last chance waiver given towards the project expiring in November of 2021, and more land looking to be sold, the project itself currently looks to be dead in 2022. The project officially ended at the start of December of 2021. While most groups have given up on the speedway ever happening, there are still some very, very, very faint glimmers of hope. According to the Ward 1 Councilmember George McDermott, the town has been working on contingency plans in the unfortunate event that the Speedway project doesn't work out. Ultimately, we hope to see the property turn into an employment land. What exactly that might be or look like is still to be determined. This pretty much seals it, though, as any hopeful words about the track that McDermott may have are probably going to be lip service, as they've all but moved on from the Speedway idea. With it, the Canadian Motor Speedway failure leaves a legacy of planning ineptitude and a thought of what might have been. A missed opportunity for oval racing on a high level for Canada. But now, I'll pass this on to you. Did you know about the plans for the Canadian Motor Speedway? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you as well to all of my channel members for your continued support. And until next time, have a good one.